The three main original broadcast networks, NBC, CBS, and ABC, have all had evening news broadcasts throughout much of their existence. In the case of NBC and CBS, those two networks have had continuously airing evening news shows from the late 1940s up until the present day. Now, the news programs on all three networks throughout their history have been a source of respected news and information for a majority of Americans. And the anchors on these three networks have been both celebrities and respected journalists, like Walter Cronkite on CBS's evening news shows. That said, some critics have argued that with the emergence of cable news in the 1980s and more recently the internet and other new technologies, some argue that these evening news shows on the networks have lost a great deal of their influence, and some actually argue that they're increasingly becoming irrelevant since cable and the internet provide 24-hour access to news and information, so that today Americans are really less likely to wait until 5 or 6 p.m. to watch ABC's or CBS's evening news when they can get news or information any time of the day or night. Now, cable news first became successful with CNN in the 1980s, and CNN established a clear alternative to the traditional networks, providing this 24-hour access to news and information. But CNN itself has increasingly struggled in the realm of news and information on cable, with the success of Fox News and MSNBC, that both have found more success with talk shows and opinion rather than straight-ahead news. And CNN has increasingly found it difficult to maintain respectable ratings just with news and information when people seem to be turning more towards these alternatives like Fox and MSNBC that have more of a focus on talk and opinion. So it's really interesting to see what the future holds for CNN. Reality TV is a comparatively recent genre of television that has had huge success in both traditional broadcast TV networks and cable TV as well. It's led to some interesting speculation about why reality TV has been so commercially successful. The book points out that the shows appeal to audiences because the characters are much more like themselves, much more ordinary than characters that you would typically find on situation comedies or conventional dramas. Television networks also really like reality TV because it's relatively cheap. It's much more inexpensive than conventional situation comedies or dramas that are much more expensive because you have to pay more for writers and expensive actors to star in the shows. I guess I would add that television networks also really like reality TV because it serves the interests of advertisers today. What broadcast networks are finding and finding really challenging is that since audiences are watching their shows on digital video recorders and on demand, audiences tend to fast forward past commercials and ads, which advertisers really don't like. Reality TV is very appealing for advertisers and networks because reality TV shows will often incorporate advertising within the content of their shows, so that the reality TV shows will have mentions of products within their shows with products actually placed within the content of the shows. So, for instance, if you watch American Idol, you'll see lots of references to advertisers like Coca-Cola actually in the show itself, so that when you have shots of the judges panel, you see these big cups of Coke with the Coke logo. And on other shows, like, for instance, the reality competition show Top Chef on Bravo, the shows will frequently feature brands of food and cooking utensils that are worked into the competitions for the show. So those kinds of programs really work for advertisers and the networks that air the shows. Public television exists as an alternative to traditional commercial television. Public TV, as we know it, was established by the 1967 Public Broadcasting Act that also created PBS, the Public Broadcasting Service that provides programming for local public TV stations. Public TV is intended to provide programming that serves the needs of audiences that are somewhat ignored by traditional commercial broadcast networks. Since conventional commercial broadcasting is underwritten and supported by advertising, obviously commercial networks are most interested in serving audiences that are of interest to advertisers. And the prime demographic group that commercial networks are trying to reach is people between the ages of 18 and 49 that have significant disposable income of interest to advertisers, because those are obviously the people that have money to spend on the products that advertisers are trying to reach. Now, that means that commercial networks and advertisers are less interested in very young people, very old people, and lower income groups that have less disposable income. So for that reason, public television tries to provide programming to reach those groups. So, for instance, public television has a lot of programming for very young people, young children, like Sesame Street and other educational programs. Now, one issue that's of concern to public television is that it increasingly relies on corporate underwriting. It relies on lots of grants and donations from large corporations to pay for its programming. And some critics argue that that creates some problems, because as PBS and public TV rely more on donations from corporations, that raises the possibility that PBS and public TV is going to be less likely to air controversial programming that might criticize the actions of corporate donors. And it also means that news and documentaries on public TV may be less likely to be critical of corporations that may be underwriting or contributing to public TV. Now, historically, public TV has received a lot of its funding from government grants, government subsidies. However, that government funding has increasingly come under attack. That political conservatives and Republicans in Congress want to do away with funding for public broadcasting altogether. Now, the U.S. government has continued to provide funding for public television, but it's under, continuous threat. So one of the questions that we'll have to address is whether or not the U.S. government should continue to fund public TV. Some supporters argue that there's still a need for public television to provide an alternative to the programming provided by commercial TV. But some critics argue that the programming that public TV has historically provided, like educational shows for kids, children's programming, documentaries, that a lot of that programming is now provided by commercial cable program services. So there's still a question about whether or not we still need public TV. What do you think about that?